Going Off-Grid in Italy, 2025 edition. Imagine waking to the sound of birds, olive trees swaying in the breeze, and living in a self-sufficient home far from the crowds. Italy is drawing more attention from people dreaming of going off-grid. But is it possible? In this video, we will show you what real life in off-grid Italy looks like, what the challenges are, and what you need to know before taking the leap. Why Italy? What appeals to people? Many people are drawn by beautiful landscapes, mountains, hills, coastal areas, vineyards or forests, cultural richness, food, wine, and local traditions. The idea of a slower pace of life, away from congested cities, real estate bargains in rural areas, especially in depopulated villages, the possibility of combining off-grid living with remote work, or tiny houses, or ecotourism, vacation rentals. But it's not all romantic. There are serious hurdles. Let's dive in. Legal and regulatory landscape. One of the first things you must understand is the legal and regulatory context in Italy. You need to deal with local municipalities, comuni for permits, building regulations, zoning and heritage, especially if the property is old or in a protected area. Many rural properties are subject to restrictions, especially for historic or scenic zones. The famous 1 euro houses programs are still active in certain towns, but they come with strings attached. You'll usually have to commit to renovation within a fixed time frame, and you must comply with building rules. Renovation must follow required approvals, CILA, SCIA, or other permits depending on the scope. Utilities, such as water, sewage, and electrical grid, must comply with national and regional regulations. If you want to install off-grid energy systems, solar, battery, etc., there are legal limits. For example, some discussions and forum posts suggest a limit on inverter capacity, for example 20 kilobars for off-grid setups. Italy is promoting the idea of energy communities, renewable energy communities or RECs, so neighbors or small communities can share renewable generation. This can help your off-grid or semi-off-grid setup. For non-EU citizens, owning property in Italy does not automatically grant long-term residency or a visa. You still need to follow immigration rules. So the regulatory side is not trivial. You will need local experts, architect, geometer, lawyers, and patience with bureaucracy. Where to go? Best regions and trade-offs.
Which regions are favorable for off-grid life? Here are pros and cons of various zones.
Southern Italy, such as Calabria, Sicily, Basilicata, Molise, and Puglia. Pros: lower land and property costs, milder climate and more sun for solar. Cons: less infrastructure, potentially more remote, and fewer services nearby. Central regions such as Tuscany, Umbria, or Marche. Pros: beautiful scenery, better infrastructure, and closer to towns and roads. Cons: more expensive, more regulations, and more competition. Mountain and alpine areas such as Trentino Alto Adige, Piedmont, Aosta, or Dolomites. Pros: fresh air, stunning views, and tourism potential. Cons: harsher winters, access issues, roads and snow, and less sun in winter islands such as Sardinia and Sicily. Pros: scenic, potential for solar plus mild climate. Cons: costlier transport, potential for salt corrosion and islands infrastructure quirks. What matters most is a balance: solar access, water source, road access year-round, proximity to a town for supplies, internet availability, and local community. Also, some prefabricated modular homes are being marketed in Italy recently for off-grid use. These can reduce construction time and fit better with ecosystems. Infrastructure and systems: how to live off-grid.
Okay, so you've picked a location and got permissions. What do you actually need to set up an off-grid home?
Power. Electricity. Solar panels plus battery storage are the usual route. In some places, you might combine with a small generator or hybrid system. Depending on regulations, you may have to limit inverter size or abide by rules about injecting to grid. You may opt for microgrid or local energy sharing via energy community. Water. Rainwater harvesting with storage tanks, wells or boreholes. Check local geology and water tables. Spring sources, if present. Filtration and treatment systems. Heating and cooling. Wood stove or pellet stove for winters, if wood is available. Passive design, insulation and thick stone walls. Heat pumps, if electricity is available. Thermal mass design for summer shading. Waste, sewage, septic systems or composting toilets, where local law allows. Grey water recycling. Biogas may be possible in some setups. Internet and communication. Satellite internet or long-range wireless if fixed broadband is not available. Mobile data fallback. Local network as backup. Food, gardening and livestock. Vegetable gardens, greenhouse and permaculture design. Small livestock, such as chickens and goats, if local rules permit. Foraging, olive and fruit trees. Food storage and preservation. Maintenance and redundancy. You need spare parts, tools, and local contacts. Plan for redundancy, for example, backup generator. Regular inspections, roof, plumbing, and solar. A fully off-grid site demands a good upfront design. List all your loads, lights, appliances, heating, and size your systems accordingly. Cost estimates and budget surprises. Let's talk money. What does it cost to go off-grid in Italy? The property or land, rural or abandoned spots can be very cheap, particularly inland and in depopulated areas. Some houses are part of the €1 programs, but the real cost is in renovation and systems. Structural repairs, roof, insulation, windows, plumbing, electrical, etc. Those can balloon beyond expectations. Many people warn that the famous €1 house is a hook. The renovation costs, permit fees, hiring professionals, compliance, materials, time delays, and local fees can add up massively. You often must commit to finishing works in a few years, 3 years is a common time frame, or risk penalties. Infrastructure setup, solar plus battery plus wiring, water and septic, could easily cost tens of thousands of euros depending on how remote and complex your design is. Transport, access, and delivery of materials to remote sites can be expensive and slow. Local professionals, such as architects, geometra, or contractors, can charge a premium or have long waiting lists. Taxes, notary, registration, and legal fees. Ongoing costs, maintenance, replacing batteries, spare parts, and insurance. So your budget must include large contingencies, often 20–30% or more overhead for surprises. Going off-grid in Italy is alluring, but here are the hard truths and common pitfalls. Remote location means it's easy to feel isolated. Long drives and limited services, such as shops, medical, or schools. Winters can be brutal in some regions. Snow, road closures, and heating loads. Bureaucracy is slow. Permits, inspections, approvals, and local officials expect delays and frustration. Renovations go slowly. Contractors might be hard to find or unreliable in remote areas. Some of the houses offered for €1 are legally uninhabitable, no certificate of habitability, no agibilita, meaning you can't live there until everything is properly signed off. You may need to use local professionals who may have different standards or communication issues. Environmental constraints, such as protected zones, watershed, and seismic zones, may impose extra restrictions. Regulations change regionally and at municipal level. What works in one commune might not in a neighboring one. Maintenance is your responsibility. No public services to rely on in many cases. Return on investment, if you plan to rent, Airbnb, is uncertain, especially when location is remote. But for many, the reward of independence, peace, and closeness to nature makes it worth the effort. Steps. Roadmap to try it yourself. Here's a rough step-by-step roadmap if you want to try going off-grid in Italy. Visit and scout regions, spend time in candidate villages, areas, test driving roads, seasonality, and talk to locals. Rent first. Consider renting or leasing a rural property before committing. To test life, assemble your team, find a local geometra, architect, lawyer, and contractor with experience in rural. Renovation work. Obtain your codice fiscale, domicile registration, and handle immigration if non-EU select a property, land, ruin, or abandoned house with good solar aspect, water access, and road access. Check zoning, restrictions, heritage protections, seismic and environment. Design your systems, electric, water, heating, and sewage, and size them based on load calculations. Submit permits and project to commune renovation and infrastructure works. Build in phases and start with essentials. Install off-grid systems once basic structure is weatherproof. Test, monitor, and adjust. Run your system, find weak points, adjust backup, and refine usage. Living in improvements over time, expand gardens, refine water retention and thermal upgrades. At each step, document, get approvals, and engage with neighbors and local community. Examples. To bring it to life, here are some real or semi-real examples. Towns offering one houses in small villages across Italy. Many still active as of 2025. But beware, many require you to commit to renovation, and some houses are initially uninhabitable. Villages like Colletta di Castelbianco, Liguria, which have been promoted as digital-friendly and renovated spots for remote workers. Prefab, modular off-grid homes showing up in Italy as quicker construction options. Stories from expat forums, people warning that renovation is not DIY. Structural, electrical, and plumbing must often be done by licensed professionals to get legal approvals. Pros, cons, and summary. Let us sum up the pros and cons of going off-grid in Italy, what you'll gain, and what you'll sacrifice. Pros: independence, connection with nature, beautiful surroundings, slower pace of life, potential for sustainable living, possibly lower living costs if systems are well designed, opportunity for creative projects, ecotourism, and self-sufficiency. Cons: high upfront effort, cost, and risk, bureaucratic challenges and regulatory complexity, isolation and remoteness, maintenance burden, uncertainty about legal approvals and unforeseen obstacles, seasonal extremes, weather issues, and transport challenges. If you go into this eyes open, with solid planning and respect for local rules and community, it is possible. But it's not a romantic fantasy. It's a serious project. If you're thinking of making off-grid in Italy your life, do your homework. Visit, talk to locals, build a team, and start small. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe to stay updated. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.